I don't think you can understand who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was and his legacy without understanding the legacy of Malcolm X.
It was very interesting to see them side by side, but in different places.
They had the same objectives. They had the same goals.
Reggie Rock, GPB.
Hey, what's up? Hey, man, you switched up the hair.
I know.
Like it.
I'm switching up all the time. Like it's either afro, the twist, the braids. Let's keep it going. First, I asked, both set of great thespians that play in, Coretta and Malcolm and Martin, Coretta and Martin and Malcolm and Betty. What was the effect of having you guys as a team? Because y'all showing like these partnerships, and when we seen X and when we seen Selma, we definitely seen what Martin did, and we seen some Coretta, and when we seen X, we definitely seen Angela Bassett do Betty, and there was a tension, but just to have you guys who have been like this, artistic and in life partnership, all this time to be at the helm of executive producing this. Do you think y'all put some of that energy into these couples and the portrayal that was put on screen, just the intention that was to making sure that the partnerships was really showing that what everybody contributed?
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, certainly, the partnership was crucial and a part of the initial vision. And, the other projects that you referenced, we have great love for those projects. Nat Geo came to us and asked if we'd be interested in doing season 4 of Genius about Dr. King. Our feeling was you don't get to have Dr. King without Malcolm X. That's what we mentioned to them, and it really became the basis and the foundation of us laying out this narrative. So that's where we started. And then, yes, we certainly talked about Betty and Coretta, and you always like a good love story.
Yeah, that was the exciting thing, to not just build with these two men, but be able to amplify these two women as well, and really lean into these incredible love stories. Both couples were so integral to each other, into each other's genius. To be able to show a love story within an environment that was so fraught and so big, but to be able to just talk about the intimate moments, see them dancing, see a proposal, see Malcolm when he gets that yes, that little fist pump, those moments were key to us, because it really showed their humanity, took them off the t-shirts and made them real.
Dear God, thank you for this blessing that you bestowed upon us. And thank you, God, for this precious love.
Hey, brown sugar. Turn that radio off and come dance with me.
We ask you for peace and for guidance. We ask you to watch over us, to protect us as we fulfill your purpose. Please align our hearts with yours and our will with yours.
You want some big old feet?
I like my big old feet.
Not better since they be walking all over.
We ask you for strength and faith as you guide us on this path.
And how was the structure? Because like you said, it's season 4, we've had Picasso and Einstein and Aretha. But to have like these 4 individuals, well, definitely like the 2 with Malcolm and Martin, but the 4 individuals, like their, parallel lives, just as a production, like I would think that even though those first 3 seasons had different, focal points as the genius, that this changed the whole format of it around, in a sense, did it?
Yeah, we say we disrupted Genius a bit, but we think in a beautiful way. But it really started, even once they came to us and us wanting to focus on both, there were 2 really important pieces to this, and that one was The Meeting by Jeff Stetson, which was a play that came out in the 80s about a fictional meeting between Malcolm X and Dr. King. And then a book called The Sword and the Shield by Penny L. Joseph, which talked about the parallels between both men and both women. So, that helped us a lot. And then it was getting two really great showrunners, Raphael
Jackson.
Thank you. And Damian Macedon, who, was really on them to help structure the series.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first thing that, the first time that Gina and I had an idea and neither one of us wrote it or directed it. So it was really amazing to sort of present a vision and have other people bring their vision to it. And yeah, very, very, very happy. And the structure's fun. It's really fun to sort of hold the mirror up to each other while at the same time holding the mirror up to society.
And I mean, I must have read Alex Haley's, autobiography of Malcolm X at least 4 times. I remember reading it to my oldest daughter when she was in the womb. That was like, like you need this before you come out story. And
Right.
I watched Malcolm and I watched Selma, but there are so many things that I didn't know in this project. I mean, starting with the Michael Luther King instead of Martin Luther King. Like, why I'm just figuring this out at 47? Like, why just now?
Right.
And the stabbing with the letter opener, all these things. I was like Googling, like, is this real? Is this just being made? Like, how much of this information did you guys find out while making this, along with me as an audience? Like, was this something that y'all found out, or did y'all know all those elements before? Because this was all new information for me.
I mean, I think that's one of the fun things that so many people come into the story. Like, I already know the story, and we felt we knew a lot of it. I mean, I guess we knew a fair share, but there was just as much that we didn't know. And so we started a think tank. Before we started writing anything, before anyone wrote anything, we had a think tank with just scholars and psychologists and
Religious leaders, activists, people who knew Malcolm, Martin, Coretta, and Betty, Ambassador Shabazz.
Yeah.
Malcolm's daughter was a big part of it as well. And as Red said, we went in thinking we knew a lot. And every day we learned so many different things, so many things we didn't know.
Historical moments and personal moments.
Yeah. So we just, in addition to listening, it was fun to listen to them debate with each other, these people who knew so much. And so it was just exciting to know that we got to put things into this narrative that nobody knows about.
And I know when Spike made X, I know that was like, it was a long film in the history of, of Black filmmakers. Like, yeah, like the first like real long film that I remember. And, to have like these 8 episodes, all this time, how much did that part have to do with being able to unpack so much more of these stories and really dig into, I mean, because now I'm like, it's re-sparked my research. I thought I had passed the whole Malcolm and Martin class, a long time ago. And now it's like it's opened up so much more that I want to dig into with them and with Betty and Betty Shabazz and Coretta.
Well, I mean, you're speaking of something that was a goal, which is wanting people to dig in more. And when we first had 8 hours, we were like, oh, we're going to get everything. And then you're like, oh man, we could use another 8 hours, so we leaned into a lot. And, there were, if we had another 8 hours, there'd be a lot more that we leaned into, but very proud and happy to bring some things forward that we hadn't seen before. But we really do hope people lean in more.
And we were excited to have these 8 hours. We really thought of it as an 8-hour film and using that time to, as much as possible, show the full breadth of, their humanity and who they were, all 4 of them, and not just what they did, but the moments behind the iconic moments that we all think we know.
Having Terrence Blanchard in the mix was kind of like, it kind of gave me some synergy to to some of the X stuff too. How important was, his sound? It just seems like it goes with these type of films, these type of things. Like when you have him on the team, because people don't, the audience doesn't really know how the sound really plays into it. But like me tapping in, like how did that make it just flow right? Just to have Terrence like on the team with this.
Terrence has been, a part of our work for, from the beginning. And obviously most recently he did Swagger, he did Woman King. And so that was an easy call to reach out to Terrence. We didn't know what the sound was going to be. And that's the beauty of collaborating with great artists, is what can they bring? What are they hearing that matches the vision that we're going for?
Yeah, I mean, he's just an expert storyteller.
Okay.
And we love the fact that, as a composer, like he doesn't get in the way of the story, He leans into, and it's like the music has its own arc within itself. So we love that. And we also just really love the music as a whole in the series. We love going between period music and contemporary music.
Yes, using songs for score. And, as Reg often says, we never wanted this to feel like a museum piece, even though it's a period piece. Because the themes, what they're talking about, what they were pushing for, asking for, fighting for, is so relevant in this moment. And so we want people to be able to feel that contemporary aspect of it and see themselves in it now in this moment.
I could dig into, all of your crates just individually, and you have done so much great work. But just as artists, I'm curious as to, for you, Gina Prince, and for you, Reggie, like which was the film or that sparked the love for you, that sparked the curiosity that made you guys want to go on this path of being creators and filmmakers? And is this something that you remember seeing as when you was young that said, you know what, I want to create something, I want to be able to do this?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are a number of films that I saw along the way, certainly, but early on, two come to mind, which is E.T. I just remember sitting in the theater I think I was 7, 8 years old, and crying and being shocked that I could watch something that wasn't real make me feel that deeply. And then the film Claudine, I remember that film so distinctly, like I could literally feel how I felt when there was this specific scene where Diane Carroll was having an argument with her teenage daughter. So again, to be able to see myself reflected in a show and how rare that was back then, those were definitely two seminal pieces.
Yeah. I think when I was a kid, when Sounder came out, starring Kevin Hooks, the original, excuse me. And for me, a lot of it was theater stuff. So, A Raisin in the Sun. The first time I saw Raisin in the Sun was a film version starring Sydney and Ruby Dee and all those great artists. Then there was a musical version of A Raisin in the Sun called Raisin, that I got to see. But like Lorraine Hansberry was such a big inspiration for me and started my career. Crazy enough, A Raisin in the Sun is banned in certain places in the country, and so our storytelling is so important. But yeah, I'd have to give it to A Raisin in the Sun and Sounder.
And speaking of that, I did want to take the time to just say how lucky we were to have Ryan C. Fitzjones in this, and now with the and also I know he has nothing to do with this project, but just the loss of Carl Weathers. When we think about these two thespians and what they've been able to leave as a legacy on the screen for us fans, like how do what is your history of just appreciating those two artists and being able to work with them on this project, or we'll be able to work with Ron on this one?
I mean, their losses are devastating. We are honored, really, that we had the opportunity to work with him on this. We love his work. We thought he did an incredible performance, and also, again, the courage it takes to take on a character like that. And so, we look at it as ways to be inspired. Their work, both of them, the work that they did, their longevity, the passion and integrity that they brought to the work. That's something for us to continue to be inspired by.
And I gotta say, I almost ran over your man Jason, because I'm here at Vanderbilt. I almost ran him over on the scooter the other day.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna tell him I interviewed you again. I run into him on campus like every other week. But the last question to wrap it up. I know that the actors, when I talk to Calvin or Aaron about like how does those characters like impact them. But when you're on the filmmaker side and you make The Woman King, or you get to make this, or you make Swagger, or any of these great projects, do you guys take those elements of those characters, even though you're not portraying them on the screen like the actors, do you guys absorb some of that story into like your own being, because y'all have been a part of the creation of it, like the actors may?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what I specifically take away from, Betty, Coretta, Malcolm, Martin is the commitment. Their level of commitment, in spite of the threats, in spite of the hateration, in spite of all of that, they just stayed so committed. They never wavered. And so, I clearly draw a great inspiration from that.
I would say we don't need the reminder, but it's always incredibly inspiring to feel the power of what we do, and to never always respect the power of film and television. And I just think in going through this, at the premiere, both our sons were there and one of them brought some friends. And to literally see one of these young Black men just lean forward the whole time, watching and hearing the reaction of how they felt about this, we know that we're bringing these two icons to another generation that desperately needs both of them, desperately needs to hear from Betty and Coretta as well. So that's, it's intoxicating. You want to keep doing that.
Well, I know he's coughing up, but
Reg has a cough.
yeah. Well, tell Rock, see him next time, and great seeing you, and congratulations on, making this work. It's not hokey. I really learned something. It wasn't like some repeat, like, oh, I've seen this before. It was nothing like that at all. It was something new for me as somebody that, like I said, grew up thinking that they knew it already. And I thank you guys for that.
Sorry, I didn't want to be coughing on your camera, so.
It's all good.
We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Always
you.
good to see you.